Hello everyone. This video is for you if you are interested in tech trends and especially consumer-facing technology companies like TikTok, Meta and Google and what's going on there. So I've just come back from the Cannes Lions Festival of Creativity, and the Cannes Lions is basically like the Oscars of the advertising industry, and it was set up I think in the 1960s. And originally in the Cannes Lions you would have the best adverts in the world winning a lion, and that's basically a big golden award. So like the Don Drapers of the world would get together and give each other awards. So it was really prestigious. And originally there were media companies, so like, media owners like TV stations and the Wall Street Journal. So they actually owned media space. Then you would have obviously the advertising agencies and brand. So, like Unilever, for example, that were advertising their toothpaste. So today, the Cannes Lions, it's still magnificent, it's still in Cannes, but guess how it's changed because of the tech industry? Well, obviously, like, who owns attention now? The people who own attention now are the big tech companies, because most of us are not watching linear TV. Most of us, even when we are reading newspapers, we're also frankly spending most of our time on Instagram or on Facebook or on TikTok. So essentially, because the big tech companies hold our attention, that's where the advertising dollars go. So what I want you to first see from this is that the tech industry and the advertising industry are hugely intertwined. So if you want to succeed in advertising, if you want to work in advertising, really understanding tech trends is super important. And that's also the case if you want to work in consumer-facing businesses, because if you're working in a consumer-facing business, you will have to advertise, and you'll have to advertise with the tech players. This is why they're so intertwined. So essentially, at the Cannes Lions, you will have the really big tech companies taking out entire beaches. So this year, Meta, formerly known as Facebook, had a beach. It was massive, and I think they were competing with the Amazon beach. I don't know which one was bigger, but they flew in celebrities to perform. They spent a fortune. There was also the Spotify beach, and the Spotify beach basically became like a really cool concert venue where they flew in Florence and the Machine and Foo Fighters. I know Lizzo was at one of the beaches, I don't know which one. Anyway, Pinterest also had a beach. And the reason why I'm saying all of this is that there was one tech company that used to have, pretty cool parties and a really cool beach at the Cannes Lions, and this year they didn't have one. Can you guess which company that might be? I'm gonna give you a clue. Elon Musk. Yeah, so basically Twitter did not have a visible presence at the Cannes Lions this year. And okay, this is kind of understandable because Elon has slashed costs and basically got rid of a huge amount of stuff. So it would be honestly a really bad look for Twitter to then take out a massive beach in one of the world's most expensive places. However, as a business owner, okay, frankly, of a smaller business, but as a business owner, I know that in order to get clients, you have to market. So if all of your competitors are marketing, like the Wall Street Journal had a massive presence there, the big tech players all had a massive presence there, TikTok took over the Carlton Hotel. Okay, if all of your competitors are spending money on spreading the word and basically making their presence felt, and you are not, then really, are you essentially going to get sales? My view, probably not. Anyway, so as you might know, Twitter recently hired Linda Yaccarino to be the CEO, and she is really well respected in the tech industry. She's very well respected in the advertising industry. I'm also sure also in tech. Anyway, I didn't see her, I heard she was there. And on the rumor mill, essentially the Twitter execs were going around and trying to get advertisers to come back. They had advertisers leaving Twitter because it became a less safe space for brands. And now the Twitter execs are talking about brand safety on Twitter, essentially saying that if you promote, say, BMW on Twitter, you are not going to have your brand, like BMW, appearing next to, say, white supremacist content. And from what I'm hearing, the brands are not convinced because, frankly, it's not true. There is a huge toxicity problem at Twitter, which frankly, they don't really have the manpower to solve right now. And right now, there are so many other wonderful opportunities where brands can advertise safely. So this whole brand safety message from Twitter, it's not really working. Anyway, so trend one from the Cannes Lions is Twitter didn't have a presence. What does that mean for their future revenue potential? You work that out for yourself. I think it doesn't look good. Okay, so that's absence one. Absence two was from another really big tech company. So, okay, let's play a little game here. Last year, this massive tech company made us all think that there was this massive trend, and this year they're kind of pretending like it's not a thing. Can you guess what it is? It is the bloody metaverse. So last year at the Cannes Lions, everybody was talking about the metaverse and how it's going to change everything. And essentially there were metaverse consultancies, there were metaverse agencies, there were people who owned shops within the metaverse. And as you know, Facebook rebranded itself as Meta, and because they have so much money, they basically sponsored a bunch of panels for people to talk about like how the metaverse was going to change everything. And actually I did this, like I put up my hand at one of these panels last year and I was like, but do people actually want virtual burgers? Because, I don't know, if I'm hungry and I have a virtual burger, I'm still going to be hungry. And essentially I was told that I'm like a boomer and an idiot and I don't get it. Well, this year, you know, after Oculus sales clearly haven't really gone that well, and after metaverse adoption by normal people hasn't really taken off, essentially the metaverse didn't appear as a topic at the Cannes Lions, which I found really refreshing. I even saw Evan Spiegel. So Evan Spiegel is the founder of Snapchat, now called Snap. We were at an event together and somebody asked him, so Evan, is the metaverse over? And he very diplomatically basically said that it kind of was and that he never believed it in the first place. So he said that we've always believed in augmented reality, which is what Snap does really, really well, but totally virtual reality where you're basically sitting in your butt in your underpants and living in this virtual world is not something that they were keen on. And frankly, neither is the rest of humanity by the looks of things. And thank God. Anyway, I don't want to completely dismiss the metaverse as a concept, by the way, because it does have excellent applications that are really working well in specific industry contexts and in gaming. So if you're a gamer, obviously that literally is the metaverse. Or if in industrial applications and in some military training. So metaverse applications exist and they're working well and there are companies making good money out of it. But this whole idea that all of us would rather like not be in the sun on an actual yacht and would, you know, give this up to be on a virtual yacht, thankfully that bullshit is behind us. So far I've told you about two absences in the at the Cannes Lions this year. So Twitter, much smaller presence, and thankfully no more talk about the metaverse. So what was instead a big presence? A big presence that I noticed was a whole new level of conversation about artificial intelligence, which actually I really liked, because most of us in the consumer-facing industries, we've used AI in some capacity. So a lot of us have used generative AI like ChatGPT to give us content ideas. Also, for example, I'm on an advisory board for a generative AI company which also uses AI to forecast trends. They're called Riveter, and they basically sell their forecasting to the top beauty and fashion brands in the world, because they can basically tell exactly what like a 24-year-old woman in East London or a 27-year-old woman in Brooklyn is going to want in 3 years' time. And I mean, their AI is remarkably powerful, and they sell their insights to companies like L'Oreal and WGSN, which is basically a massive fashion powerhouse. Anyway, so the discussion about AI was absolutely everywhere. So some of the things that people were talking about is, A, how do we actually use this stuff? So like creatives were giving tips on how they're using it. Other people were saying, okay, well, using it is fantastic, but what are the regulatory hurdles? Because artificial intelligence, it basically is based on past data. And so where are you getting that data from? Because, for example, if you are creating new songs using generative AI, but the samples are taken from Taylor Swift's music, you know Taylor's coming for you, and so she should. So there was a lot of talk about how do we use it, how do we basically not get sued if we are using it, and also what is going to be the impact on jobs and especially on creative jobs. So AI was the new trend, and I think this is going to be like the trend that's here to stay, because unlike the metaverse, it is already a thing. We are already using it. Okay. Another thing that I noticed at Camlines, which I think you will find interesting, is TikTok. So TikTok had a huge presence. They basically took over the downstairs of the Ritz-Carlton in Cannes. And in Cannes, there are like two massively fancy hotels. One is the Martinez, which is my favorite. I have stayed there. It is magnificent. And then there's the Ritz-Carlton, which is my second favorite. I've never stayed there. I'm loyal to the Martinez. Anyway, so TikTok took over the downstairs of the Ritz-Carlton. And they had a massive presence, and their emphasis was basically on teaching people, on teaching anybody who would walk in there on how to make TikToks. And I found that interesting because in the Meta Beach, they also taught us how to use Reels. But their whole emphasis at Meta was, we are going to teach you how to make the best advertising Reels. So you make great ads. So basically, if you make ads that work, you will give us more money, you will spend more advertising spend with us, Meta, as opposed to Snap or TikTok or the Wall Street Journal or whoever. Whereas TikTok, I barely saw money being mentioned at all. I barely saw ad spend being mentioned at all. They were just like, TikTok, we're the home of creativity. Come here, make TikToks. We will show you how to make super trending TikToks. Which basically showed to me that Meta, they are really in monetization mode. Whereas TikTok, they are still in user growth mode and content generation mode. And if you actually look at where the companies are in their trajectories, you can see that Meta, well, they've got lots and lots and lots of users. And so their aim is to get as much money out of the users that they already have. Whereas on the TikTok side, they are still very much in user acquisition mode. And so they want to get as many people on board. And so user acquisition basically trumps advertising. User acquisition is more important to them right now than revenue generation. And also in general, in social media, about 10% of the people who produce, about 10% of the users produce content, and the rest consume content. And like, you can think about this in your use, right? Like, when you're on social media, most of the time you're watching content, you're scrolling, like maybe you're liking, and think about like the proportion of the time that you actually put up photos or put up videos. Like, that's a much smaller proportion of time. That's why for a social media company to work, not only do they need users, they also need those users to produce. So TikTok is on a huge production drive, and they don't really mind, it seems, whether you're giving them money to produce content, so essentially if you're advertising, or if you're just producing content so people have more content to watch. So that's basically trend number 4. And what I want you to see from these trends is that the advertising industry and the tech industry, they are completely intertwined. So essentially, unless you can have an intelligent discussion about generative AI or about the importance of user experience design in technology and in the user flow, unless you can kind of do that, you are not going to get very far in the advertising industries or basically in large consumer-facing brands. Like if you want to work at Unilever or at P&G, that's something that you really, really need to understand. And that is different to what it used to be, because it used to be, okay, let's understand brand, let's understand how to basically sell things, and let's understand how to make creative content, like stuff that people are going to like, and let's try to get a Cannes Lions. That is no longer, that. You still need to do that, but that's no longer enough. You need to understand how algorithms work, what an algorithm is, why user experience design is important, why that's different from, say, user interface design or graphic design. So if you want to work in these industries, you also now have to learn to speak tech. Obviously, this is what I teach you at Tech Fun and Techies. So if this is something you're interested in, listen to the Tech Fun and Techies podcast, watch more of these videos, get the How to Speak Tech ebook, which is free. You'll be able to see the link below. I'm super proud of it. I've made it. But essentially, if you've watched this video till the end, then you're clearly interested in these industries. And what I'm saying to you is that in these industries, creativity and brand, they're super important, but now so is technology. So learn to speak tech, and if you like this video and you found it useful, I would absolutely love it if you just pressed like below and just left a comment. I read all of the comments, they make me super happy. And thank you very much for watching and have a fabulous day.